There is a profound fallacy in the belief that human connection is built primarily on words. We are taught from birth that to love is to speak, to want is to ask, and to feel is to confess. Yet, the most potent truths of the human heart are rarely uttered. They are leaked. They exist in the microscopic pauses between sentences, in the involuntary dilation of a pupil, and in the way a person's body subconsciously orients itself toward the center of its gravity. When someone has developed a deep emotional attachment to you, they may never say it. In fact, they may spend significant cognitive energy ensuring they never do. But the psychology of power and human behavior tells us that the subconscious cannot be fully suppressed. It is a river that eventually breaks any dam. If you know how to look, you will see the water. If you understand the mechanics of emotional investment, you will realize that you are not being ignored. You are being observed with a level of intensity that would terrify the average person. We begin with a fundamental truth. The more someone tries to hide an emotion, the more they must alter their baseline behavior to accommodate that secret. It is in this alteration, this deviation from the norm, that the truth resides. Consider a woman who exists within your social circle. To the untrained eye, she is a model of professional or casual indifference. She speaks when spoken to, she offers polite smiles, and she maintains the socially accepted distance. But pay attention to the moments when you are not the focus of the room. There was a man who believed a specific woman found him unremarkable, perhaps even boring. They worked in the same building, shared the same air, and occasionally the same conversations. She never sought him out. She never complimented him. But one afternoon, he entered a crowded room where she was already engaged in a deep conversation with someone else. He didn't speak to her, he simply stood on the far side of the room. Within 30 seconds, her posture shifted. Her feet, previously pointed toward her conversation partner, pivoted 10 degrees toward him. Her laughter, once rhythmic and steady, became slightly more frequent and a half octave higher. She never looked at him, yet her entire biology was acknowledging his presence. This is the first law of hidden attraction. The body cannot ignore the object of its focus. When someone is emotionally attached, you become their North Pole. Even when they are looking south, their internal compass is locked on your position. They are constantly aware of the distance between your body and theirs. They are aware of who is standing next to you. They are aware of the volume of your voice. This heightened state of awareness creates a psychological tension that manifests as a controlled stillness. If you notice someone becoming unnaturally still or unnaturally composed when you enter a space, they are not indifferent. They are manually overriding their natural impulses. They are holding their breath because they are afraid that if they exhale, they might say your name. This leads us to the second pillar of decoding, the retrieval of the insignificant. Human memory is a finite resource. We are designed to discard the mundane, to make room for the meaningful. We remember the dates of our triumphs and the faces of our enemies, but we do not remember what a stranger wore 3 Tuesdays ago. Unless, of course, that stranger is no stranger to our heart. Imagine a scenario where you are sitting in a group and you casually mention a specific, obscure brand of tea you enjoyed as a child. It is a throwaway comment, a filler sentence in a larger narrative. You forget you said it before the tea in your cup has even cooled. 3 months pass. You are having a difficult day. And that same person, the one who seems so neutral toward you, hands you a box of that exact tea. They don't make a grand gesture of it. They don't say, "I've been thinking about you." They say, "I saw this and remembered you mentioned it." This is a massive psychological leak. For that person to have retained a minor, non-utilitarian detail for months, their brain had to assign a high priority tag to your words at the moment they were spoken. Emotional attachment acts as a catalyst for memory. It turns a casual listener into a meticulous archivist. They are collecting pieces of you, building a mosaic of your personality in the quiet corners of their mind. They know your coffee order, they know your stance on obscure films, and they know the way you squint when you're thinking. They remember the details you have forgotten about yourself. This level of data retention is never accidental. It is the byproduct of an obsessed intellect. When a person values the source, they value the output. If they are storing the nothing you say, it is because to them, nothing you say is actually nothing. The third sign is found in the architecture of connection, the subtle maintenance of the tether. We live in a world of digital noise, where communication is cheap and attention is the most expensive currency. Most people will interact with you as long as it is convenient. They will respond to your messages when they are bored. They will engage in conversation when you are in front of them. But an emotionally attached person operates on a different frequency. They fear the silence. To them, silence is not just a lack of sound, it is the sound of the connection withering. There was a woman who was determined to keep her feelings for a colleague hidden. She was disciplined, stoic, and fiercely independent. She never initiated a text that could be construed as flirtatious. However, every time a conversation reached its natural conclusion, she would find a small, logical, business-related reason to ask one more question, or she would share a link to an article that was tangentially related to a topic they had discussed hours prior. On the surface, it looked like professional diligence. Beneath the surface, it was a desperate attempt to keep the line open. They are not chasing you. They are simply refusing to let the fire go out. They will use accidental reasons to stay in your orbit. They will like a post you made 3 days ago to remind you of their existence. They will ask for your advice on a topic they already understand, just to hear your perspective. This is the behavior of someone who is emotionally anchored. They are terrified of being forgotten, and they are even more terrified of the gap that grows when two people stop speaking. If you find that a person consistently reopens doors you thought were closed, or if they seem to have an endless supply of small things to tell you, understand that the content of the message is irrelevant. The message is the tether itself. The fourth indicator, perhaps the most telling of all, is the reaction to withdrawal. In the psychology of power, we understand that value is often perceived through the lens of scarcity. When you are always present, always available, and always predictable, you become part of the background. But when you pull back, not as a game, but as a shift in your own priority, the emotionally attached person will experience a form of psychological vertigo. Think of a man who has been a consistent presence in a woman's life. They are just friends. He is the one who always checks in, the one who is always there to listen. Then he gets a new project, a new passion, or a new focus. He stops being the first one to reach out. He takes 6 hours to reply instead of 6 minutes. A person who is not emotionally invested will simply move on. They might notice the change, but it won't disturb their sleep. But the person who is attached will undergo a visible shift in energy. They will become more proactive, more inquisitive, and more vulnerable. They might even display a flash of uncharacteristic frustration or feigned indifference that is too loud to be real. This is the scarcity spike. Their fear of loss has overridden their need for composure. They are reacting to the sudden vacuum where your attention used to be. This reaction is the ultimate proof of investment. You cannot feel the loss of something you did not value. If your absence causes a change in their temperature, your presence was the only thing keeping them warm. The fifth sign involves the mask of composure. There is a specific type of distance that is not cold, but heavy. It is the distance of a person who is trying very hard not to touch you. In social settings, watch for the person who seems almost too controlled when they are around you. They don't lean in. They stay perfectly upright. They don't linger in their eye contact. They look away just a fraction of a second too soon. This is the hyper-regulation phase. There was a woman who was deeply in love with a man who didn't know it. Whenever they were in a group, she would speak to everyone but him. She would laugh at everyone else's jokes, but only give him a small, tight smile. To the man, it felt like she disliked him. In reality, she was so overwhelmed by her internal reaction to him that she had to build a wall just to function. She couldn't trust herself to be normal, so she chose to be distant. This is a common mistake men make. They confuse a woman's restraint for a lack of interest, but true indifference is relaxed. True indifference is messy. If someone is indifferent to you, they don't care if they have spinach in their teeth or if they say something stupid. They are just existing. But if someone is attached, every word is curated. Every movement is calculated. The silence between you feels charged with an invisible electricity. That tension is the sound of two magnets being held apart by sheer force of will. If the air feels thick when you are together, it is because both of you are breathing in the feelings the other is trying to hide. The sixth sign is the sensitivity to your approval. Even the most powerful, independent individuals have a soft spot for the person they are emotionally attached to. Your words carry a weight that no one else's can. You might notice that when you give them a minor, offhanded compliment, their entire demeanor lightens for the rest of the day. Conversely, if you express even a slight disapproval or disappointment, they seem to withdraw into a shell of self-reflection. There was a man who once told a woman she looked different today. He didn't even say good, just different. For the next 3 weeks, she never wore that outfit again, and she changed the way she did her hair. She wasn't doing it for herself, she was reacting to his observation. When someone is attached, they are constantly scanning you for feedback. They want to know where they stand. They want to know if they are meeting your invisible standards. They will subconsciously adapt their behavior, their opinions, and even their appearance to better align with what they perceive you value. This isn't about a lack of self-esteem. It is about the high value they place on your perception. If your opinion can change their mood, you own a piece of their heart. The 7th sign is the biological mirror. This is perhaps the most difficult behavior to fake because it happens at the level of the nervous system. When two people are emotionally in sync, they begin to mirror each other's physiology. They blink at the same time. Their heart rates begin to synchronize. They adopt the same sitting position. If you cross your legs, they cross theirs. If you take a sip of water, they reach for their glass. This is the body's way of saying, I am with you, I am like you, I am safe with you. It is a tribal, evolutionary response that signals deep rapport and attachment. If you want to see if someone is attached, perform a simple test. During a conversation, make a distinct but natural movement. Adjust your watch, lean back, and put your hands behind your head, or shift your weight to one side. If within the next minute they mirror that movement or a variation of it, they are subconsciously locked into your frequency. They are no longer a separate entity. They are an extension of your rhythm. This mirroring often extends to language as well. They will start using your slang, your metaphors, and your vocal inflections. They are absorbing your essence because they are emotionally consumed by it. Finally, the 8th sign is the refusal to let the story end. True attachment has no expiration date. It is a fire that can become embers, but it rarely turns to ash. You will see this in the person who, years after you have moved on or grown apart, still finds a way to reach out on your birthday. Or the person who, when they run into you by accident, looks at you with the same intensity they had 5 years ago. They never fully close the book. They keep the tab open in their mental browser. There was a man who hadn't spoken to a woman in 3 years. Out of nowhere, he received a message from her saying, I saw a car that looked like yours today and thought of you. It was a simple message, but it revealed a 3-year-old attachment that had never been resolved. People who are not attached move on cleanly. They don't have unfinished business because there was never any business to begin with, but the attached person carries you with them. You are a ghost that haunts their hallways. They will always be curious about your life. They will always feel a slight pang when they hear your name, and they will always leave a small, invisible light on in the window of their heart, just in case you ever decide to come home. These signs are the true language of the human experience. They are more reliable than any I love you or any grand romantic gesture. Words can be rehearsed, confessions can be faked, but the subconscious is an honest witness. It cannot help but tell the truth. If you see these patterns, the physical orientation, the memory of the mundane, the maintenance of the tether, the reaction to withdrawal, the mask of composure, the sensitivity to approval, the biological mirroring, and the refusal to let go, you are looking at a heart that is already yours. The question is no longer whether they feel it. The question is what you intend to do with the power that knowledge gives you. Because once you see the truth, you can never go back to the lie of their indifference. You are now the master of the unspoken, the decoder of the hidden, and the keeper of a secret that they are dying for you to discover.